And it all becomes self-worship, self-indulgent, and then before you know it, Satan's got you. And if you don't believe that a lot of people, I was talking to the class yesterday teaching Sunday school, and I said, now think about this. If you don't believe that this person was doing the work of evil that, by the way, God was allowing him to do, and that's where some of you are not going to like today, okay, was allowing him to do. We know from the story of Job is so troubling, sometimes people just can't handle it. But I've been through a Job-type experience, so I understand Job in a way that I never did before. But whether we like it or not, Job documents that Satan, in the time we're living in, okay, stood before God. They had a discussion about Job, and God said to Satan, now, you can do anything to him you want to, you just can't kill him, which included killing his children. Okay? It was a storm that killed Job's children. You telling me that Satan can bring storms and kill people? If God allows it, yes, he can. See, a lot of you got to be real careful with signs and wonders because Satan can do them too. Your experience with God better not be about a bunch of signs and wonders. Jesus warned us about that. He said, I'm here to preach the gospel first. You better get that for, I'm the bread of life. Yeah, I fed everybody today. That's impressive. But if you get caught up in that, that's going to be a mistake. And some of you are going to stand before God one day looking for a bunch of signs and wonders, and you're going to say, but I saw signs and wonders. That's why I believe. God says, I know who you are. Satan's going to say, that was me that did that, by the way. You worshiped me. And see, because you want to make God something you want him to be. But God allowed this wrath to take place. All of it we see. All this horrible stuff, God is allowing it. Why? Why? Because his wrath has always been handed out on evil societies to turn them back to him. Always. This has been who he has been since sin entered the world. Okay? And so you look and say, well, Rick, how do you know this guy was doing the work of Satan? How do you know that? Well, first of all, it ought to be pretty obvious, but here it is. All right, here's a guy who makes a decision in his deluded mind and soul and spirit that he will go slaughter his mom and dad and then slaughter innocent children as well, or children who are as part of it. He's wearing body armor, okay, and then kills himself. Does that make any sense?
Seems to be a conflict there, doesn't it?
So if I've got body armor on, that means for a moment I'm trying to protect myself from being killed, but then I kill myself. Well, see, if you know the Bible and you know demons, you know evil spirits, they always kill the host. Meaning he buys in, Satan pulls him in, has him slaughter all these people, and all of a sudden right then Satan says, oh, by the way, you just slaughtered all kinds of people, including children. And now we're going to kill you. Because he's a liar. A guy with body armor on kills himself. See, this is all the calling card of Satan. So why in the world does God allow these things to happen? Now, if you read Romans chapter 1, and by the way, if you don't think America is Romans chapter 1, you're just scared and don't want to read it. All right, so here it is. Let's look at 18. For the wrath of God is revealed from the heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men. Listen, who by their righteousness, their own righteousness, they suppress the truth. For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. By the way, for his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world and all things that have been made. But listen, so they are without excuse. For although they knew God, they did not honor him as God or even give thanks to him, because they became futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened. And listen to this. Then look at 28. And since they did not see fit to acknowledge God, sound familiar? God gave them up to a debased mind to do what ought not to be done. They were filled with all manner of unrighteousness, evil, covetousness, malice. They're full of envy. They're full of murder. They're full of strife, deceit, maliciousness. They're gossips. They're slanderers. They hate God. They're haughty. They're boastful. They're inventors of new kinds of evil. They're disobedient to parents. They're foolish. They're faithless. They're heartless. They're ruthless. Though they know God's decree, and those who practice such things deserve to die, they not only, listen, this is key, they not only do them, but they give approval to those who practice them. And what did God do to Rome?
Go back and read that again, what he did because of that.
Yeah. Now,
And they, in their own mind, were righteous.
right. He said
They had the high ground.
basically he's saying that y'all know who I am, and you know what I've done, and at one time you acknowledged me, but you've chosen to invent your own righteousness now. And you have chosen, and it says, because of this, the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against them. Does this list sound familiar at all? I mean, how foolish can we be? Chasing off after gun control, chasing off after we're going to have some discussion about mental illness. So God can't stop someone who's mentally ill from slaughtering people? Of course he can. The question you better ask yourself is, why isn't God holding back his wrath? Why is he allowing it to happen? Because he is. That better be our focus. Anything less than that will solve nothing.
Do we want to deal with it? Can we handle it? I doubt it.
I don't want to hear about politics involving this on either side of the issue, because that is a waste of our time. We better get on our face, and we better beg for forgiveness as a country, and we better turn back to him. And if we don't, it's just going to continue. And it's going to get worse and worse. We'll be right back.
Rick and Bubba, Rick and Bubba.